Hey everyone, Connor here from Kamerastore.com, here with another edition of our Q&A, and as usual, joined by Nico. We collected some questions from you guys, both on YouTube and on Instagram, and we're gonna give them an answer. Thanks for your response last week to having our mechanics on. We have a few questions for them again, so maybe we'll get some of them coming to visit us again.
Okay, we start with Nathan Piper Photo. If you could bring any film stock back from the dead from any brand, type, or format, which would you bring back and why?
Any type or format?
That's what he said.
Um,
I've got answers. Should I start?
yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I'd say Polaroid Type 55 would be my first choice, and then peel apart in general.
What's Type 55 specifically?
Type 55, you have a box of Type 54 behind you. It's
it's
peel
4x5.
apart. It's 4x5 peel apart film, mostly because this format of film has disappeared. So I could bring any 35, 120, 4x5, 8x10 film, but you know, we already have options in that regard. I can shoot 4x5 color today, 8x10 color and all this, but like pack film and peel apart 4x5 made by Polaroid, the Type 55 was amazing. Would be stuff that I would love to see. Obviously not going to happen, but it would be a great choice, in my opinion, to have. And I wasn't even that big of a shooter for peel apart, but now that it's gone, it's like, I want to have the option.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say peel apart as well, or Spectra film from Polaroid as well. Less like you said, more options for the same formats, but more new formats that would give life to a bunch of cameras that are basically dead now.
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
And film stock, if I had to choose film stock, whatever the size, I would say Neopan, Fuji Neopan 1600 was amazing, and Fuji Astia slide film. It was mostly like a very neutral slide. It was really good for like fashion, so you could make like the colors be actually what you saw, so not super saturated, kind of like Velvia and Provia and so on. But yeah, the Astia as a general and Fuji Neopan 1600, because I'm a 1600 black and white person in 35 and 120. But yeah, that would be the two film stocks I miss.
You could also do Fuji Natura 1600.
Never liked it. Don't like color 1600, just looks funky to me, but people like it.
Can't win them all.
Aerocolor would be cool. Aerochrome.
Aerochrome, yeah.
Aerocolor is a different stock. Aerochrome would be cool. Not that I would shoot it either, but I guess if we're giving people
It would be
choices.
a cool. Well, it's a cool option that's very different from anything else, just because of the way it works. So.
Yeah, made for the military. Okay, we have Janne Ranta with, I'd like to know what they think is the worst part of being a camera mechanic. This is a question for the mechanics.
Yeah.
So what is the worst part of being a camera mechanic?
So right away, we'll go grab one of them for an answer.
Well, that's kind of personal opinion, I guess, but
Quite a bit.
for me, I guess it's that it can be sometimes quite difficult, quite challenging, like. But I guess it can be also a good thing if you like challenges every day.
Yeah, for me, I personally like the challenges, but I would say the worst part is the like stuff that someone has been into, like
Yeah.
who doesn't know what they are doing.
Yeah, like it's like to be expected that someone has serviced them over the years at least a couple of times. But if they were like some do-it-yourself guys, then it just makes our job that much harder. So
Yeah.
Wow, thanks for that. Yeah, that part that they said is probably a pretty annoying thing about being a mechanic.
I'd say being on camera is probably one of the things they don't like either.
Oh, it's true.
But nobody wants to be on camera, to be honest. Okay, we have Calvin Chan 1996. My question is whether you have a way to log wish list items that you currently don't have in stock, but will alert the person when if you get that item at a later date.
No.
So this is something we've been working with our IT team for years. The main problem we have is lots of stores that are selling things online have SKU numbers for an item. So you could have the SKU for your sweater and they have that in stock, and when it runs out, they just order more from the supplier or they make them and then they just send an email saying, hey, this SKU is ready for those people that had it on the wish list. We work with secondhand items, which every item is individual, because this camera doesn't have covers, this camera has a broken shutter, that camera's digital, yada, yada, yada. So it's not Canon A1s and that's it, one SKU for a Canon A1. So we do individuals. Due to that, if you subscribe to one, you're not subscribing to the, let's say the catalog item that we call, you're subscribing to the item per se. So this is a technical problem, mostly due to the secondhand, like online market not made for secondhand unique items.
Yeah.
E-commerce is 99.99% drop shipping, you know, stuff like that. So us being kind of a circular economy company, we have to build these tools ourselves. So yes, it is a very complicated thing to do. One thing I'll note, if you subscribe to this camera, it sells. It comes back because the person didn't want to buy it finally. You will get a notification of your wish list item coming back in stock. So it does work on the unique items. It just doesn't work if we have another Canon A1 coming 6 months later. That'll be a different SKU.
Yeah, and I know that we've made some inroads. I've worked with some of our tech team to try to make that tool available, because it is a very commonly requested thing, and it would be a really nice feature. You know, every time we get a Mamiya 7, 10 people that want them would get an email, and then we'd probably sell it faster. So it is something that we're working on. But like Nico said, it is vastly more complicated than just, you know, a simple email me when this is back in stock.
Yeah.
Even if it would be that simple for the customer, hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah, they might happen one day, but not yet. Okay, next question. Hesmond, do you typically use or have access to service and repair manuals for all camera models, or are these manuals available for specific cameras only? Additionally, do you purchase service and repair manuals for internal use? Well, this is a mechanic question, but we will say before we bring a mechanic in that yes, we usually try to get things from spare parts or manuals. We do get a fair amount of leads on spare parts. I literally just went to pay an invoice for spare parts for Hasselblad, but it's very hard to sometimes get like either the spare parts you want or the manuals you need, and you know the mechanics will fill us in about this. But yeah, it's not so simple. But yeah, let's go get a mechanic and see what they have to say.
All the camera models that we fix, we do have all the manuals, but we don't really use them all that much. They can be like nice to reference some things, but they don't really take into account the age of the camera, so some tolerances may not just work anymore. And like usually it like they don't have that much useful stuff.
Yeah, it sort of also depends on the camera model.
Yeah.
Like some you can actually find like some settings and locations of stuff manually.
It's usually like parts catalogs and stuff that some exploded images and stuff.
Yeah,
but
yeah. Those are I think the most useful ones.
yeah, they don't have like do this, do that. They're more like they assume that you already know what you're doing, so
Yeah.
it's not like a fast ticket to cameras repairs or anything.
Yeah.
Like we have tried to make some like more comprehensive manuals for our apprentices that actually like tell you what you should do and what you should be like what you should know not to touch, or like what are the most common faults and like and so on.
Yeah, for that it makes sense to have them.
Yeah, it's more like documentation for now, and the old manuals are for like what they were new and when they were like assembling them and stuff.
Yeah, and having our own documentation makes sure that everyone does the same thing the same way.
Yeah, we
Like
need to have the same standards for everybody.
Yeah, so it stays consistent.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that so much reading could or could not be involved in the repair process.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
Camerabill asks, if you could have any 3 cameras brought back to mass manufacturing, which ones?
Mass manufacturing. Well, I mean, trying to be as broad as possible. Probably one 35 millimeter SLR, a point and shoot, and a medium format camera would be really nice to just like have those as sort of a base option that like are always available new and are, you know, reliable in the sense that
They're
you
made
can
new.
probably send them back to the company to get them repaired. Yeah, and you can just like trust them 100%. That would be really nice.
I'd say if we went more specific, I agree with you on the selection. I would say something like a Mu 2, Mu 1, Mu 2, like a 3.5 f2.8 with flash that is kind of like reliable in focus and, you know, the meter reading and all this stuff. That would be great. Then as an SLR, something simple, something with a light meter that is not dependent on the camera of having batteries or not. Like so the mechanical camera with a light meter, something in the Spotmatic, Nikon F2 kind of like realm, something there, like semi maybe modular, but maybe not even.
Yeah.
AF would be great, but considering that most manufacturers have ditched the AF lenses and are moving to mirrorless, makes me say, let's just stick to like the manual lenses just for extra fun. And then if I was gonna go for medium format, I would say something in the 645 realm, just to keep price of and affordability there. And because cost of film is going up so much, I think having 16 frames, 15 frames is so much nicer. Yes, you don't get that wow factor of a 6x7 shot, but like 645 is like 3 times bigger than 35.
Yeah.
So Mamiya 645s or a Pentax 645, something in that realm. A Contax 645 would be beautiful, but yes, let's just stick to manual focusing. Maybe aperture. The same with a light meter, like a light meter that works with a battery, but the camera's mechanical.
Yeah, like something like the Bronica ETR with you can get the metered prisms.
Yeah, and like a leaf shutter, please, so we can sync at all flash speeds in studio. That would be great.
Yeah.
So not exactly 3 models per se, but we did mention a few. So I
3
guess
types of cameras.
yeah, we don't need large format cameras. We don't need more pinholes. We're good.
Yeah, well, there's still tons of those being made.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Liron Steinmetz. Best Fuji X macro lens for Valoi Easy35.
When they do demonstrations, and I've seen him do a few demonstrations, Arl, the founder, he uses I believe it's a TT Artisans or maybe 7 Artisans. It's a 60 millimeter f2.8, and it's on Sony E, so it's not technically the same, but it's APS-C. And I think that's probably what he recommends as a budget option. So if you're looking to get into camera scanning with Fuji, that's probably still a good choice.
Yeah.
Any of the Fuji lenses will be, or a dedicated Fuji macro lens, will be more than good enough. They're probably all excellent.
Yeah, I would say get a macro lens, and then there's a focal length that's like the sweet spot for Valoi Easy35. You can go to the website; they have a whole bunch of stuff there. But yeah, the one he uses in the demonstrations, I've seen him do the Fuji X also. They have like some in stock at the store, but it is the 60 mils f2.8, and it's just good enough for the cost. Like it's a good proposition of value and performance. A lot of people will say that the traditional old macros are great, and they're not bad, but they were made for film era, so they're not as good as some of the new stuff. So just, if you want to go for new, go there. And if you want something legacy, go ahead and get some legacy. But sometimes they don't perform as good as some of the new lenses.
Yeah, as you could expect. I mean, we've made some advances in optical technology in the last 40 years. So a micro Nikkor from the 50s is going to be worse than a modern lens.
Yep. Okay, we go Philippe Costa PT 6427. Everybody says the mechanical cameras are easier to repair, but how much easier is it to repair similar cameras like an OM-1 versus an OM-2, FM versus FE, MX versus ME Super, or Leica M6 versus M7?
We should probably grab the mechanics for this one as well. I will say, some of the repairs that get done to electronic stuff, I'm going to predict their answer, and it's that electronic cameras are like less reliably repairable. So like you can repair an electronic camera, sometimes you just clean a few contacts inside of it and it springs to life. But sometimes no matter what you do, it's dead. And it's dead. But with a mechanical camera, normally with the right amount of work and part swapping, you can get it working. So, but let's grab them and get an actual answer.
Yeah.
So it seems to me you're here like comparing kind of similar looking cameras, one of which is mechanic and one of which is electronic. I'm not really saying that mechanical cameras are necessarily easier.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
It also depends a lot on the model.
Yeah, they're just different. Like,
Yeah.
and they might look very similar on the outside, but can be like fundamentally different on the inside, depending if you have like electronic model versus same looking like mechanical model. And they're just very different to work on.
Yeah, and even in the like same model, you might have differences in like depending on when it's made.
Yeah.
Like they have made changes in the production and design of the cameras.
Yeah, and even if we assume that they were like brand new, they would be still very different to work on. But in addition to that, they're like 50 plus years old.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't really say anything is easier than the other necessarily, but they're just very different, and the electronic models may not be so consistent. They might have some very different challenges. Like mechanical cameras have more challenges, like do you have all the spare parts, and that's basically it.
Yeah.
Do you have the knowledge? But electronic cameras have much more different problems.
Yeah. Yeah, the electronics kind of age in a different way than the mechanical parts.
Yeah, it's also a very good point that like you might have a bag of mechanical spare parts for something and they don't really age, but even if you have like electronic parts, they're usually the same age as the ones in the camera, and they might be just as dead as the one in the camera. But if you're talking about springs or gears or levers, they just tend to be like mechanical parts are just more long lasting.
Yeah.
Wow, thanks for agreeing or disagreeing with my prediction.
We have next question, Anti-Skate. Not sure I like the name.
Anti-skate.
Yeah. Why Soviet cameras are worth it, or are they?
They're cheap. That's, I would say, the main thing they have going for them. I know back in the US, they were like pretty uncommon, so it was like kind of rare to find one. But here in Europe, especially in Finland, since we share a pretty big border with Russia, there's tons of them around. So, you know, you can pick them up really cheap and play around with them. And if they don't work 100%, then they don't work 100%.
I will say the lenses are also very fun to play with.
Yeah, they're actually pretty
rangefinder
good.
lenses for from Russia are actually usually very interesting. And if you're shooting rangefinders, you can go for really clean images, and there's all kinds of lenses in that regard from Leica and Carl Zeiss and Voigtlander. But sometimes you want some character, maybe something fun. I've seen the 20mm Rusar being used here in the office, and it's like a fun, warpy kind of like soft image, but also really fun. So don't like forget that if the cameras are not great, you can still use the lenses on most of the other rangefinders available.
I mean, and even the 50s are, you know, and the 35s, the Jupiter 12 is a pretty well-regarded lens. And then the 50s are all based on German lens designs. I mean, very few of them are original designs. So you're getting basically old Carl Zeiss designs with questionable build quality.
But also going to rangefinders, a lot of people think of rangefinders immediately snap to Leica, but there's plenty of rangefinder cameras you can get your, you get used to shooting, because rangefinder shooting is very different than SLRs. So if you are in that, maybe I want to get a Leica one day, like just get something simple, something like a Canonet, or the Olympus 35 is SP, or what is the name?
SP is pretty expensive. There's the RC. There's a bunch of different Olympus ones.
Get something in that realm, see if you like it, and then maybe change to interchangeable lenses. The Russian cameras maybe are not as good as the reliability as some of the Japanese versions. So maybe try to see if you like rangefinders first, then try to see if you want to test the Russian one. And if you do really like it, enjoy it. And if you do want to go up to something a little better, you can always go into other brands.
That's an excellent point. They're definitely not maybe beginner-friendly cameras, especially in the realm of rangefinders. A lot of them, especially the fixed lens ones like the Canonet, will have at least some sort of automatic mode. So helps you transition into using a rangefinder versus an SLR.
Okay. We have tricycle smuggler again. Do you manufacture spare parts in-house using metal or plastic 3D printing?
Yes.
Thank you. So we do a lot of spare parts in-house, especially development with 3D printed machines, plastic mostly and resin. So what we usually do is we do a couple iterations with that, and when we find the right tolerances and the fit, then we go ahead and find someone that can manufacture out of metal. We don't 3D print stuff in metal, not yet. But that's what we've been doing. And sometimes if we have the spare part in-house, like literally the part with us, we will draw it and then send it to the manufacturer and do a couple trials back and forth. Manufacturing of small parts of CNC and all this has become very affordable and easy. Like right now we're working on the diopter for the Nikon cameras, and it's like the fraction of the cost of what it used to be to make these things in a small scale. Remember, we're not asking for 10,000 of these like they would when they were making these cameras, but we're asking for 50 or 100 units. So we do try. We do use some plastic parts for the Hasselblad backs. I know that for sure. The little break inside that's like a chicken bone, you know, the lucky bone.
Yeah.
Looks like that. But we do try. But yeah, 3D printing is not exactly perfect for the tolerances of spare parts, depending on where the camera goes and the suffering, the use it's going to be on it.
That's I think an important thing to note is that like you said, we do 3D printing for a lot of the prototyping and getting the sizes right, and then when we actually move to manufacturing, we would probably use metal for most things, just because the reliability of 3D printed materials just isn't up to the standards that it needs to be, especially if it's replacing a metal part. I mean, if the manufacturer used a metal part originally, all the tolerances are designed for metal parts, so it just won't work with plastic. So yeah.
But yeah, we're slowly getting there.
But we just came out with the Nikon F3 battery caps. Battery caps are, you know, on the easy side, I guess, compared to some other things to manufacture.
Yes.
It's just getting threads right and getting sizes right. But they're very important, easily lost. So we have that for the F3, the Canon new F1, I believe, and a few other cameras.
Yep.
So.
We'll leave a link below if you want to get one. Then we have 1995 Luis Parra. We have, which camera is more reliable between the Olympus OM-1 and the OM-2?
Well, you can reference the mechanic's previous answer to the electronic versus mechanical debate. Yeah, like I said before, my understanding is that electronic cameras can sometimes be very easy to repair, but if they go quite wrong, then they're kind of bricked without significant changes in parts, at which point, you know, you replace the handle of the axe, you replace the blade of the axe, is it the same axe? And can you afford to switch all the parts? Which I guess is the bigger issue with the OM2. But with the OM1, it's mechanical, so it's just about swapping things in and out and playing with the tolerances and stuff like that.
I mean, cleaning, adjusting, lubing is many times is enough for keeping a OM1 working as intended. Like you said, the OM2 has more electronics in it, then it just starts being way more unreliable, especially because electronics manufactured in that era were made at the beginning of it, and they weren't really thinking, oh, will this work in 2030? Not really. So the mechanical ones will always win that race of, you know, like I've seen the guys opening cameras like the one we have here and soldering stuff, and they're like, I'm fixing this one cable that I can see is a little peel, but I don't know if it's going to be the one that's going to fix whatever issue the camera has. So I say go with mechanical if you can, and if you buy something with electronics, just take your chances of like one day it will start being crazy and you'll have to put it on the side and see if you can find someone to repair it.
Yeah, it's true. I was looking through the repair manual for this. It's a Canon AE1, and I was like, this camera specifically had one issue, and I was trying to trace it through the camera, and because it's electronic, there's like 10 wires that basically control the same thing that run throughout the entire camera. So the repair manual even said, clean these contacts, and if that doesn't work, then you have to take this part off, and then you have to clean these contacts, and if that doesn't work, like, they basically walk you through troubleshooting. But with a mechanical camera, it would be, oh, the aperture isn't stopping down. There's one mechanism that you clean and fix, and that'll probably fix it. So it can be much simpler in a sense.
But yeah, that's it for our questions this week. As always, we leave the questions on Instagram on Thursdays on our stories. You can make sure you follow us there. But you can also ask us here on YouTube on the comment section below. We pick a few questions and we try to answer them following week. So yeah, thanks for your questions and for watching. And thanks for the mechanics, obviously, for helping us out, answer those questions we're too naive to answer properly.
Yeah.
So yeah, see you next time. Bye.
Bye.